questions, but I can do it at the end.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're going to be going over today in Basic Setup 2, I'm going to show you how to build shifts. Now, within the context of our system, really a shift is just a block of time someone is scheduled to work. Whether that's, an admin shift from 8 to 5, a day shift from 7 to 3, or say a night shift from 10 to 6 in the morning. So I'm going to show you how to build these shifts. Also, I'm going to throw in there how to kind of build shifts for on-call. Just a way to, it's not technically like a working shift, right? But it's a way to denote who is on call if you have that. Do you have anything like that with on-call?
We do. We have a detective on call every week.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you kind of how to, put that in, kind of planning ahead. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is on the web, we're going to want to click Setup. All right, and I don't know if you have like your system up on one screen or if you're just watching this for now, because if you want, what we can do is I can show you an example of how to put in the shift, and then once I'm done, you can put in a shift of your own. This way, if you have any questions while you're doing it or if you're unsure about anything, we can get that resolved immediately.
Okay, one of my questions, and I can ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
One of the questions is I put this on the desktop of my computer because I'll be the one always doing it. So when I went in yesterday to put all my profiles in, I pulled the desktop up and it looks fairly different than this. So I called the customer service. They're like, oh, you got to go through the portal. So they got me in through the portal, and then I found the setup button and put my people in fairly easily. The problem is when I go to the portal, I can't get into this screen that you have, the portal, where it has the setup right where your cursor's at right now. So when I go to try to get in the portal one, it won't allow me in. Because the desktop looks different than this.
Yeah, you're using an application that you downloaded to the computer, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You know what then? For now, let's switch over to the desktop, and then once you get the web portal thing kind of hashed out, and maybe after this class, I'll help you out with that. All right.
Okay.
For now, I'll just show you how to build shifts on the desktop.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. Let me. I just got to pause my screen really quick and get into my.
Because I know this way was a lot easier than the desktop.
Yeah, and the reason why we were kind of pushing the web is because kind of like from this point on, the web is going to receive all the updates. It's just,
And that's what I want to do. I would rather have it that way. But, they sent me an email saying, hey, pull the desktop. I'm like, okay. So I did it. And then yesterday I went in to do it. I'm like, man, this looks totally different. I called them up. They're like, oh, go through the portal. So they actually logged into my computer, got me in. I thought I had the right user and password. I typed it in. It says it won't let me in.
All right. Well, I tell you what. After this class, we'll get all that straightened out.
Okay.
All right. So let me. So does this look more familiar?
Yes.
Okay.
But again, if I'm going to use the portal for the most part, I'd rather do it on the portal. But it's fine.
Well, here's the good thing. What I'm going to show you today is exactly the same on the web portal. It looks a little different, and by looks, literally, it just, the forms are the same. You're filling out the same information. We don't ask you for any different information. It literally just appears in a different way.
Gotcha.
So, even if I show you this on the desktop, and you do this on the desktop, if you pull it up on the web, you're going to say, "Oh, it's the same exact thing." So, there's you're not really losing out by doing it this way.
Okay.
Okay. So on the desktop, we're going to go to the administration menu, which is pretty much the same thing as setup on the web. It's just called something different. But we're going to use administration.
Right.
We're going to open up Shift Center on the left. And then we are going to click Setup Shifts. Now on the web, you'll notice this is a pop-up, but on the web, it looks the same, meaning on the left is going to be a list of shifts once you build them. right? So the more and more shifts you build, the more populated this list will become.
Gotcha.
And then on the right are just the forms you need to fill out in order to create the shift. And, you know, these forms are all on the web. There's nothing different about what we're asking. So with that being said, let's take a look at something I already have built, you know, and then we'll put one in together. So I'm just going to click on my day shift. So you'll notice there are a handful of items in red. Those are absolutely mandatory to be filled. You know, you have to fill these out or else it won't save.
Gotcha.
The first thing is a shift code. Now, a shift code, it's just a way for the system to identify what this shift is. It's used in certain schedule views. It's really just like an abbreviation for the shift. So my day shift is just called days. You know, my let's see, patrol day, patrol midnights, patrol afternoon. My admin shift is called, you know, code admin. So you can put in up to 12 characters in here. And like I said, it's really just a way for the system to identify the shift. And it's sometimes used on some schedule views where screen space is kind of limited and we might not have enough room to fit in the whole name of the shift. So we just give you the code, which for the most part is an abbreviation.
Okay.
The next form that is mandatory is description. Now this, I believe you have up to 50 characters. You could just spell out the name of the shift in here. So, you know, my admin shift, the description is literally administration. This is what is used on the daily schedule, and you'll see if I minimize this, this is my daily schedule block, and we see who's working that shift on that day. You see that it says administration spelled out. It's not using the code. So that description is used on the daily schedule because we do have enough room for all the possible characters.
Gotcha.
Now, abbreviation, it isn't mandatory. However, we recommend this is just a one-character code for the shift. It's used in some reports. It used to be used in a couple of schedule views, but that has since changed. But ultimately, just, you know, for every shift, just give it a one-character code for abbreviation. They do not have to be unique in that, you know, if I'm using A for this shift and I need to use A somewhere else, I can. So it's okay if you have two shifts with the same abbreviation. It won't stop you from doing that.
Okay.
And then the last mandatory things to be filled out are the start and end time. Now, one thing that trips a lot of people up, so I kind of want to harp on this, is when it comes to a shift, we want to kind of put in the most generic block of time, meaning if I have an admin shift, that's 9 to 5. And for the majority of people, they work 9 to 5. That's what I want to make the shift times. It's okay if you have, say, an early person that works 8 to 4. Do you have anything like that where you have like a few people that come in a little bit earlier or maybe start a little bit later than everyone else?
We have that on the patrol section. We have a guy that comes in an hour early, but it's always a different person.
I gotcha. Okay.
6 p.m. to 6 a.m. There's a guy that comes in 5 to 5, but again, we don't document that either way either.
Well, you can now, because what happens is these are just kind of like default times. This is what will get assigned to everyone that works this shift unless we say otherwise. And what I mean by that is when it comes time to actually assign people to a schedule, we can say, well, these are their start and end times for this specific employee. And so what that means is, you know, my admin shift, the default time is 8 to 1600, but if John Smith works 7 to 1500, when I assign John Smith to the schedule, I can say, well, here are his times and no one else's. Everyone else is going to default to these. So, you know, because what we found some people were doing was actually creating, you know, an early shift that started an hour earlier. You know, that's a lot more work than you really need to do. So, you know, for the shift, start and end times, you want to just put in what the majority of people work. If you do have a couple people that start with, or not start, but work irregular hours, that's totally fine. You can assign those hours to that person specifically. So far so good?
Yep.
Okay, great. Now, once you put in your start and end time, and by the way, it is in military time, where it says number of hours, that will automatically kind of populate based on what you put in here. So if I were to change this to 17, and I click in there, it adjusted it to 9.
Okay.
Also, another thing I do want to add about shifts, if anyone has like unpaid lunch or anything like that, you're going to build that into the shift. So I'll give you an example.
We don't have that.
Oh, no? Everyone gets paid lunch?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, because there is a certain field where we could say, you know, this person gets X amount of unpaid lunch minutes. So say I'm on the schedule for 9 hours, but I get an hour of unpaid lunch. The system will know to pay me for only 8 of those hours. But if that doesn't apply to you, then don't worry about it. Forget I said anything. We're going to move right along. So all this other stuff, master shift, payroll department, all that other stuff, we're not using it right now. At this point in the game, we want to keep it as simple as possible. We're going to skip right on down to these check boxes down here, which do exist on the web as well. All right, so we have 3 check boxes. The first one, active. That just means that the shift is currently active in the system. That means we're using it. So we want to make sure active is always checked. Now, the next checkbox, omit timesheet, this possibly could be something we use for an on-call shift. This just means that we don't want these shift hours to get paid out for. I know on-call, you know, people get like a flat rate for on-call, but the reason why we want to use omit timesheet for an on-call shift is because if I'm on call for a week, when it comes time to print out my timesheet, it's going to say I had a total of, almost 200 work hours because it's looking at 7 24-hour entries of on-call and then my regular shifts on top of that, which we don't want. So when it comes to on-call, you might be interested in omitting it from timesheet.
Okay.
And at the base level, omit timesheet just means that this shift is not going to show up on the timesheet. We're not counting these hours when it comes to payroll. On-call is a little different because we are able to pull those hours in another way, but we ultimately don't want someone being with a timesheet that says 150 work hours in a week because of on-call. You know what I mean? So that's what omit timesheet is referring to. Now, the last checkbox, shift starts on current day, is automatically checked for all shifts. The only time you can turn this box off is if you have a shift that overlaps midnight. Do you have any shifts that say start tonight and end tomorrow?
Yeah, we got our midnight shift. Starts at 6 o'clock tonight and ends at 6 a.m.
Okay, 6 p to 6 a. So, looking at that, would you say that shift counts towards tonight, or does it count towards tomorrow morning?
Tonight.
In that case, you want this checkbox on to say this shift is going to start today. Right. If you were to uncheck that box, the system's going to think that the shift counts towards tomorrow's date.
Gotcha.
And where do we use that? Well, when it comes to time off. If I was working the 6 p to 6 a shift tonight and I wanted off, would I say I want off for tonight or I want off for tomorrow? Well, it sounds like you would say tonight, correct?
Yes.
So then you want that shift starts on current day checkbox checked. The only time you would really turn it off is you see in some departments they have a shift that, say starts at like 10 p.m. and so they're working 2 hours tonight and 6 hours tomorrow. Well, the majority of that shift is taking place tomorrow, so they count it as like a morning shift. That's when you would uncheck that box.
Okay.
And like I said, if the shift does not cross midnight, you can't adjust this box anyways.
Okay.
And now the very last thing we got to do is for every shift, we need to tell the system whether or not this shift has minimum staffing levels. Now, I know you haven't built the minimum staffing yet. This is kind of getting you ready for a future class. I can't remember which number class it is, but in Basic Setup, we do have a validation class where you put in your minimum staffing levels and manpower levels. This is just kind of getting you set up. So you're telling the system, you know, my patrol shifts count towards minimum staffing. Maybe my records shift doesn't.
Gotcha.
So once you fill that out, you click Save, right? And then you just click New again and put in your next shift. So if you want, you know, you can go ahead and put in a shift just so you can see for yourself. I mean, it's really straightforward. You're only filling out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, 6 fields and possibly 1 or 2 checkboxes.
Yeah, I got that. That don't seem too bad.
Okay. So for the class, that was really all we had to do. Now I want to give you kind of some context, like, you know, where you go from here. In the next class, we're going to show you how to build what we call rotations, which is really just our way of saying how many days on and off someone is on a shift. So, you know, do you guys, what kind of rotations do you guys have? Is it like a pitman, or is it like a 4 on 3 off kind of thing?
They do, you know, like Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, work, off the weekend. It's a 2 week of days, 2 weeks of nights. 12-hour shift.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, the next class using these shifts is where we're going to set those rotations. So we're going to say for, you know, say patrol, you know, I don't know how you refer to it, but I'll just give you an example. Some people refer to them as lines. So patrol line 1 is 2 days working day shift, 2 days off, 2 days working night shift, 2 days off, you know, things like that. That's how shifts come into play. And then once you build out all those rotations, because you're pretty much building like a template of, for this rotation, it's, you know, these days you're working this shift, these days you're working that shift, and so on, and it repeats a pattern. Every 2 weeks, it's going to repeat itself. Right. After that, you're then going to assign people to those rotations, and that's where you could say, well, this guy, when he works this shift, it's going to be at these hours instead of the default hours.
Okay.
So that's kind of how shifts are used in the grand scheme of things. I also kind of, you know, we do have some time, so I'm going to show you what it looks like on the web portal as well. All right. So as far as shifts go, you know, here's our daily schedule, and it's broken up into shifts. Every shift is its own tile, right? So here's my day shift. Here's everyone working for today's date. Here's everyone working the night shift, Detective Bureau, and so on. Then if we were to go to, say, the weekly schedule, we see, let's check Squad A. We see, you know, Squad A, this guy on Tuesday is working night shift, off, and so on. But if we were to go to another group, say admin, you know, they're working the administration. And a monthly schedule operates the same way.
Where do you see Squad A at?
These are my groups. I have a group Squad A, a group Squad B. Oh, wait a second. No. Can you see the web portal on my end?
It says the connection server has been lost. Please check your network connection.
Okay, hold on. Can you see it now?
Yeah, yep, you're moving now.
Okay. Okay. What screen did I lose you at, or did you not see any of it?
When I asked you about Squad A, when you said, look, Squad A, whatever, that you were already lost.
Okay. All right. So, like the weekly schedule, I can say, all right, I want to see Squad A, B, C, and D. And then we see the shifts that everyone in those squads are working for, you know, whatever week I tell the system. So we see night shift, etc., day shift, C, D, and then same thing for monthly schedule. Once again, you know, my squad B, day shift, what, you know, shows the days they're working, the days they're off. And then for every employee, they're going to have access to their own monthly calendar that, you know, for them, just them, it's going to, you know, kind of like in a calendar format. Well, here's what I'm working on, you know, Tuesday the 2nd. Here's what I'm working this Saturday, day shift from these times to these times. You know, so this is how, you know, shifts are used within, you know, the scheduling aspect of our system.
We had the old system, the old POS system, so it's kind of similar.
Oh, you guys use Legacy? Okay. All right, yeah, I mean,
similar. Some of the things are very similar.
Yeah, it really is. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We just, everything got kind of like an upgrade. That's right. Pretty much it. But if you were good with Legacy, moving to this is relatively painless. The biggest thing that I guess, you know, maybe gives people a hard time in migrating from Legacy to the new schedule app is they're just used to one way and they don't want it to change. You know what I mean? But
well, I think the only difference for us is once I get in here and see it, I remember most of it. But we didn't set up the old POS. The company did. They put all our people in. They did all our shifts. We did all the other stuff.
I gotcha. Well, listen, setting up this system, it's really not that hard, and the nice thing is you're already kind of familiar with the concepts of how to do everything. Like I said, we didn't invent the wheel. We're not asking you for any information now that we didn't ask you back then, except right. Now you have a lot more features to use that you didn't have available in the old system. You can do a lot more, and like I said, you know, a lot of people say, you know, we're used to it one way, and, you know, we have a lot of resistance to change. But right. Once they do finally just kind of, you know, go for it and make that change, they all say, wow, like, you know, we can do so much more now. And actually, I think it's a little easier to use.
Well, it's way better than the server base. I mean, we can do it from phones and wherever you want, really.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing too. That's why we're kind of focusing on the web, getting everyone on the web, because in the old days, if there was an update, well, you had to download it on every computer, and you had to wait for us to send it to you. Now, the second we upgrade or update anything, it goes out immediately, and you don't have to wait. You don't have to download nothing. You just go onto the website, and boom, it's updated.
Good.
But yeah, so that was all we had to do for setup shifts. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. This way we can kind of get you up and running with your web portal.
Okay, that'll be perfect.